Hello there. This is the second video in my Red Hat Process Automation Manager How-To series. When you're using PAM, there are a large number of use cases in which you need to call out to external REST services. And the way to do that in PAM is by using the out-of-the-box REST service task. Today, I'm going to show you how to use it. Now, let us log into the Business Central development environment. We are going to create a new project, call it use case 1. Now go to settings. First thing we want to do is to enable the service task, the REST service task. Install. It asks you for the username and password just in case you need authentication. I just enter something in here. You can override this later on. Installing the service task just allows you to use it in the business process designer. In order to use it, you still need to go to deployment and work item handler and add the work item handler here. In this case, we're using REST, and set up the constructor for the REST work item handler here. Save it. There are several different constructors for the REST work item handler. In the next video, you will see more options for this, and I shall talk about that in the next video. Now, before I create any business process to call out to a particular web service, let me just show you what the REST web service looks like. I'm going to use curl to invoke the service. You can see that this is a really simple service. It's a POST service. All I'm providing with the POST request is the name of a person. In this case, John Fick. And all the service does is return the hello message, hello, and then followed by the name of the person you just sent over. And that's it. Let's look at the access. In order to save time, I already created this sample request. This is the request object which gives the name to that particular request. It is in this sample request class. Now we can proceed to create a business process. Click on business process. Give it a name. Let's just call it REST call. Start REST. Now let me just set up some process variables. Sample request. The data type is sample request, and the result is a string because it returns a hello string. Now we can look at the REST service. I just rename it and call it REST service call. Look at data assignment. Wow, there's so many parameters you have to fill in. No, don't be discouraged. You don't have to fill in every one of this. Some of these parameters are there because they just want to keep the backward compatibility with previous versions of this particular service task. You don't need every one of this. So let me just show you the ones that you need. In order to save time, I have pre-filled all the parameters that are required. To give you a clearer picture of the parameters I enter, I also show you this. So the first thing is content type. We are sending using JSON. That's why we need to add application/JSON in there. And the method we are calling is a post method. So we put post in here. Oh, by the way, when you enter this in here using the expression, when you enter the post or application JSON, don't include any double quote in there. Just type post and then it will turn out this way. And then the URL is the one that I show you. That is the service we are calling. And the content type is actually selected from the list of process variables. So you can see that I already selected the type, data type for this as the sample request. And the result is a string. And it's going to be mapped into the result process variable. If the return type is not a simple string, if it's a complex type, then you have to define the result class in here, the full class name in there. But in this particular case, we are just returning a string, so we don't have to set anything. So these are all that is required. 1, 2, 3, 4 input parameters and 1 output parameters to call that particular service. Now let us click on OK and save it. Next thing we want to do is to deploy it. Just say deploy. Now you can see that it has been deployed. I'm going to show you 2 ways to interact with the deployed business process. First one is by using Business Central. Let's go to the process definition. Start. Just give it a name. You will see that the process ID is 16. Now if I go and have a look, process instance, select also the complete one, 16. Let's look at the diagram. So it's been completed. Let's look at the process variables. Now you can see that this is the result. So the service has actually returned hello James Bond. So that is what we required. That is one way to interact with the deployed business process using Business Central. The other one is by using the RESTful API. So if I go in here, that is the Swagger or API documentation. I already previewed this particular request. So you can see that this is container ID. So if you go back here, this is the name that I'm inputting in here, right? And next one is the process ID. The process ID can be found here. this one here. And then I'm going to set up the process variable sample request, and this is the class of the request, and this is the name I'm going to give it, John Fig. Now I click on the execute button. If I haven't actually logged in, it will pop out a login dialog box, but already logged in, so just execute, scroll down, you see that you have created process 17. Let us have a look at process 17. Process instances, complete, 17. Look at the diagram, it's all completed. Look at the process variable. The returned message is hello John Fig. And this concludes the video on how to use a REST service task. So far we've been talking a happy scenario, that means no error occurred at all. So in the next video I'll be talking about error handling of REST service calls. So until then, stay healthy.